We're continuing our look at the worst tanks of World War II, and here's another 5 armored failures. This is part 2, so if you haven't seen the first one yet, it's already on the channel. Check the description for the link. Once again, we'll break down tanks that failed in combat, but remain interesting from a historical and modeling perspective. Let's get started. The Type 95 Heigo was a light tank used by the Imperial Japanese Army, developed in the 1930s. Designed as a fast and maneuverable infantry support vehicle, it was already outdated by the start of World War II and proved highly ineffective against the more advanced tanks of the Allies. The Type 95 Heigo entered service in 1935 and saw extensive use during Japan's campaigns in China, the Philippines, and Southeast Asia. Its main advantage was lightweight construction, only 7.4 tons, and a maximum speed of 40 kilometers per hour, making it well suited for rough terrain. It was armed with a 37mm gun and two 7.7mm machine guns, which were sufficient against poorly equipped Chinese forces. However, against American and Soviet tanks, this armament was completely ineffective. Thin armor, 12mm, could be penetrated even by heavy machine guns. Weak armament. The 37mm cannon was ineffective against enemy tanks. Poor crew protection. The 3-man crew struggled with operation and combat effectiveness. Lack of upgrades. Outdated design left no room for improvements in armor or firepower. Why does the Type 95 Heigo rank 5th among the worst WW2 tanks? While it was an effective tank in the 1930s against weaker enemies, by the 1940s it had become a rolling target. Against M4 Shermans, T-34s, and even lightly armored Allied vehicles, it stood no chance. Despite being mass-produced and widely used, it was hopelessly obsolete. In scale modeling, the Type 95 Heigo is available from several manufacturers, especially in the popular 1/35th and 1/72nd scales. In 1/35th scale, this light Japanese tank is produced by Dragon, offers a well-detailed kit with fine craftsmanship. Fine Molds, a top Japanese brand known for its accurate replication of Japanese armor. In 1/72nd scale, modelers can choose from IBG models, a high-quality kit with good detailing. Dragon provides a compact yet well-crafted version of the tank. Though it was not the most effective combat vehicle, the Type 95 Heigo remains an interesting choice for modelers, particularly those interested in Japanese WW2 armor. History of the M1139 and why it ranks 4th among the worst tanks of World War II. The Italian M1139 was a medium tank developed in the late 1930s and introduced into service with the Royal Italian Army in 1940. While it was meant to be a modern armored vehicle for mobile warfare, it quickly proved to be a complete failure on the battlefield. The M1139 was named after its 11-ton weight. It was armed with a 37mm gun mounted in the hull and two 8mm machine guns placed in a small rotating turret. This awkward gun placement severely limited its effectiveness in combat, as the main cannon could only fire straight ahead, making aiming cumbersome. The tank was powered by a 105-horsepower diesel engine, giving it a top speed of 32 kilometers per hour, 20 miles per hour, but its mobility in rough terrain was poor. Armor was only 30 millimeters thick, offering little protection against enemy fire. Major weaknesses: hull-mounted main gun. Like the M3 Lee, this severely limited combat flexibility. Weak armor. 30 millimeters of protection was inadequate, even against anti-tank rifles. Outdated design, already obsolete by the time it entered service. Poor mobility. Its weak engine made it ineffective on rough terrain. Why does the M1139 rank 4th among the worst World War II tanks? The M11/39 arrived too late. and was already obsolete when World War II began. In the North African campaign, it was hopelessly outmatched by British Matilda II and Crusader tanks, and its armor was weak enough to be penetrated even by Bren machine guns with armor-piercing rounds. As a result, most M1139 tanks were quickly destroyed or captured by the British, who then turned them against the Italians. With no real potential for upgrades, the tank was phased out by 1941 in favor of the more capable M1340. In scale modeling, the Caro Armato M1139 is poorly represented, which is understandable given its low popularity and combat ineffectiveness. Currently, there are only two known model kits of this tank. IBG Models offers an M1139 kit in 1/72nd scale, which is the only detailed option in this size. 1/56 scale, one model exists, but options are extremely limited. And that's it. Compared to other WW2 tanks, the M1139 is clearly not in high demand among model kit manufacturers, further emphasizing its minimal impact on armored warfare history. The Soviet T-35 was a multi-turreted heavy tank, which looked impressive but proved to be extremely ineffective in combat. Designed in the early 1930s, it was meant to be a moving fortress, capable of breaking through fortified enemy positions. However, by the time World War II began, its design was already outdated. The T-35 was the first and only mass-produced multi-turreted tank in the world, entering service in 1933. It was huge, 9.7 meters long, 50 tons, and featured 5 turrets, a 76.2 millimeter gun in the main turret, 2 45 millimeter cannons in secondary turrets, 4 7.62 millimeter machine guns positioned around the tank. It had a crew of 10 to 11 men, making it difficult to operate efficiently. Its top speed was 30 kilometers per hour, 19 miles per hour. With a range of only 150 kilometers, 93 miles, far too little for such a massive vehicle. Major weaknesses: poor mobility, too heavy, slow, and unsuitable for maneuver warfare. Massive size made it an easy target for artillery. Thin armor, 20 to 30 millimeters, ineffective even against light anti-tank weapons. Difficult operation, required an excessively large crew, complicating combat efficiency. Why does the T-35 rank third among the worst World War II tanks? Despite its intimidating appearance, the T-35 was practically useless in real battles. During the 1941 campaign, most of these tanks were not destroyed by the enemy, but broke down due to mechanical failures or were abandoned due to fuel shortages. By the start of the war, the T-35 was already obsolete, and the multi-turret tank concept proved to be ineffective. The Soviet military quickly abandoned such designs in favor of more practical tanks, like the KV series and T-34. In scale modeling, the T-35 is fairly well represented, particularly by Zvezda, which produces this tank in 3 scales, 1 to 35, a highly detailed model for experienced builders, 1/72nd, a good balance of detail and compact size, 1/100th, a simplified miniature, ideal for tabletop gaming or quick assembly. Additionally, HobbyBoss offers several versions of the T-35 in 1/35th scale, providing different modifications of this unique tank. Despite its failure in actual combat, the T-35 remains popular among modelers due to its imposing appearance and historical significance. The French Char B1 Bis was a heavy tank that looked powerful on paper, but proved to be too complex, expensive, and outdated for modern warfare. The Char B1 Bis was developed in the 1920s and entered service in 1935. It had strong armament, a 75 millimeter gun mounted in the hull, designed for attacking fortifications, a 47 millimeter gun in the turret, intended to engage enemy tanks. Its armor was up to 60 millimeters thick, making it nearly invulnerable to German 37 millimeter PaK 36 anti-tank guns. However, its strong protection did not make up for its many flaws. Major weaknesses. Complicated operation. One person in the turret had to act as the commander, gunner, and loader. Slow speed, 28 kilometers per hour, made it an easy target. High fuel consumption, the tank quickly lost mobility due to fuel shortages. Difficult production, expensive and complex to manufacture, limiting mass production. Why does the Char B1 Bis rank second among the worst World War II tanks? Despite good armor and firepower, the Char B1 Bis was not suited for modern warfare. Its slow speed and complex operation made it ineffective in mobile battles, and German tanks could simply outmaneuver it. During the 1940 Battle of France, most Char B1 Bis tanks were either destroyed by airstrikes and artillery or abandoned due to fuel shortages and mechanical failures. The Germans captured around 160 units, but even the Wehrmacht saw little combat value in them. The Char B1 Bis was a tank of the past in a war of the future, and its limited battlefield success couldn't make up for its outdated design and poor strategic value. In scale modeling, the Char B1 Bis is available from several manufacturers, though the selection remains somewhat limited. In 1/35th scale, Tamiya offers a well-detailed and high-quality model, making it the most popular choice among modelers. In 1/56th scale, Italeri provides a compact version of the tank, suitable for collectors and wargamers alike. In 1/76th scale, Revell produces a two-tank kit, including both the Char B1 Bis and Renault FT, making it an interesting option for fans of French armor. Despite its combat inefficiency, the Char B1 Bis remains a popular subject for modelers, thanks to its distinctive design and historical significance. The Panzerkampfwagen VIII Maus was the heaviest tank ever built. Designed by Nazi Germany as an invincible supermachine, it ultimately became one of the most impractical and useless tank projects of World War II. The Maus project began in 1942, led by Ferdinand Porsche. It was intended to be a near-indestructible breakthrough tank, capable of smashing through any defensive line. Its frontal armor was up to 220 millimeters thick, making it nearly impervious to most anti-tank weapons of the time. The Maus was also heavily armed. A 128 millimeter KWK 44 L55 gun, capable of destroying any tank with a single shot. A secondary 75 millimeter gun mounted in the same turret. However, this is where the advantages ended, and the flaws completely outweighed them. Major weaknesses. Enormous weight, 188 tons. Maus was so heavy that it couldn't cross most bridges. Slow speed, 20 kilometers per hour on paper, but only 13 kilometers per hour in reality, making it an easy target for enemy forces. Technical failures. The engine struggled with its massive weight, and the suspension constantly broke down. Zero combat use. By the end of the war, not a single fully operational unit was completed. Why does the Maus rank first among the worst World War II tanks? Maus was too big, too slow, and completely impractical for real warfare. Despite huge resource investments, it never saw combat. By the war's end, only 2 prototypes existed, both of which were captured by Soviet forces. This project was an absolute failure, proving that sheer size and armor don't make a tank effective. The Maus remains one of the most pointless military vehicles of World War II. In scale modeling, the Maus is well represented, especially in 1/35th scale, with several options available. TACOM produces highly detailed Maus kits for experienced modelers. Trumpeter offers an interior version, allowing modelers to showcase the tank's internal structure. In 1/7 2 scale, Vespo models, the only manufacturer producing mouse in this size. In 100th scale, Zvezda provides a miniature version, ideal for tabletop gaming and collectors of smaller scale models. Despite being a battlefield failure, the Maus remains one of the most popular tanks among modelers due to its unique design and massive size. That's it for today. We've covered 5 more of the worst tanks of World War II, but this discussion is far from over. Do you agree with this list, or do you have your own picks? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. And if you haven't seen part 1, make sure to check it out. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.